Hello there, Ringside Crew.
Hey dudes at Ringside Crew, this is Davian.
Hey, it's Jenny Santana.
This is Elsie.
This is the Savage Juggernaut, Tamaku.
Ringside Ring!
This is Thomas D. Bruff.
This is Billy Starks.
Mr. Chad Epic.
Megan Mason.
Hey everybody, Scotland's own Brody Adler.
The headliner in charge, Marco Mania.
This is your girl Charisma.
Papa Dink, Brendan Dicker.
This is According to Woods.
Savannah Summers.
I'm Shorty.
Catherine Inside.
You are watching
The internationally known
Dudes at Ringside podcast, hosted by Metal Geek and Joe the Panther Jr.
Hello there, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I'm your host, Joe the Panther, the third, and now from the top of Metal Mountain, all the way down to all 50 states in the globe, is Happy himself, the Metal Geek.
What's going on, Ringside Crew? What's going on internationally? No, what's going on, everybody? What's going on, Joe? How's it going today?
I'm good. Before we introduce our awesome guest today, I would like to say a big thank you to Annabelle for opening the door for WW for all their lovely wrestlers that they are producing from their promotion. If you guys have a chance, go on YouTube and look up WAW Wrestling. It's and Bellator's. They're top notch. They're a promotion kind of like Coventry Pro that are kind of like a miss. If you look wrong, you're gonna miss them. Like if you look, where's Joe? You can't miss him because he's behind Geek. Short, you can't really see them. They're a good promotion. You got to check them out. Like the past few episodes we've had lately with Chelsea and Sassy Central, really good. But now let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to Maddie Miles.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Afternoon coffee with the Panther.
Yeah.
So, if our fans are not familiar with you, Maddie, introduce yourself.
So my name is Maddison Miles. I'm a 22-year-old professional wrestler originally from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. However, I now reside in Norwich, England. I started wrestling at 15 years old, and I have been wrestling for 7 years. I have wrestled in 10 different countries across the globe. I have made the PWI Top 100 women's list twice, and I was one of the youngest females in Canada to have a WWE tryout at just 19 years old.
Wow. Oh, what was that process like?
You just gave me chills saying all that accomplishments. But our podcast being international known, you fit in perfectly.
Absolutely.
Because all those flags I saw on your Instagram page, I was like, Mr. Burns.
Yeah. You've been everywhere so far. That's one of the questions we always ask the guests. It's like, where would you like to travel next? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been everywhere.
So I've wrestled in Canada, America, and Mexico. I've wrestled in England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Germany, Austria, and the Netherlands. But the top 3 places I would like to wrestle are South Africa, Japan, and Australia.
Oh, South Africa.
You should definitely check them out when you're done with the interview with us. Check out CPW from South Africa.
Yeah, so that's who I have communications with them quite frequently. So we were supposed to do a tour together before the pandemic happened, and that got canceled due to the pandemic. So that is very high up there on my list, and I do talk to them quite frequently. Just spoke to them today, actually. But yeah, so fingers crossed.
They're good people. We actually had the owner and one of their female wrestlers on the podcast.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, they're great people.
Akila. Oh, that would be a good match. You versus Akila. Oh my gosh. Dream match. Excellent.
There you go.
You get the next question.
So how did you get your start in the wrestling business exactly?
So my dad was always a really big fan of wrestling. He used to go to local shows all the time. I went to my first local wrestling show when I was I went to my first wrestling show when I was 4 years old, and that just happened to be an Impact Wrestling taping because my family and I were in Florida. But we were sat in the very back. I couldn't really see anything, and I was like, Dad, this sucks. And then he was like, oh, it's fine. But when I was 5 years old, my dad was on his way to a wrestling show, and I was like, Dad, can I go with you? And he's like, babe, you're not going to like it. Like, you didn't like it the first time. And I was like, yeah, no, but I want to go with you. Like, it'll be fun. When I went to my first wrestling show when I was 5 years old, I saw a female wrestler there, and I was instantly hooked because I had no idea that girls did it. So it was actually local wrestling that got me hooked into wrestling, not one of the kind of big worldwide companies that got me hooked into it. And then I was a fan for a long time, and then from kind of age 8 to 11, I started doing charity work with professional wrestling. So what basically I would do is that I would put my portion of the ticket sales into the donation jar, and then I would go into these shows early. So I would like work the door. So I would sometimes work the cash box at the door at 8 years old. I'd work the music at shows alone at like 8 years old. And I kind of continued to do that as well as help with ring crew from the entire time that I was into these shows early. And then when I was about 13 years old, I started to do like backstage segments and stuff. When I was 14, I started ringing the bell for a company and doing a bit more of the backstage segment stuff. And then when I was 14 and 15, I began ring announcing and I refereed a few times. And then when I was 15 years old, Wildman Gary Williams, my trainer, was like, we don't have any females and we haven't got anyone nearly as young as you. But if you want to train, we'll train you because you've been around forever and ever. And I was like, yes, please. And then life hasn't stopped since.
So you basically grew up in the business in a way. Like you started like doing like little things here and there.
Yeah.
And then you started working your way up. So that's pretty cool and interesting,
Yeah. So I've been involved in the wrestling business for almost 15 years, but only wrestling for 15 years. Is that right, math? Yeah, 15 years. Sorry, my math is no, it's not right. 17 years. But yeah, and I've been wrestling for 7 years now. So yeah, so it just kind of hasn't stopped really. Been around it for ages, and yeah.
That's awesome. So is there any female, or I don't know if you do intergender wrestling, or male wrestler that you've been seeing on like YouTube or like on Instagram? It comes by your newsfeed and you're like, I could wrestle them.
So the people that I would love to wrestle, so like my biggest dream match would probably be Mickie James. She's like my number one kind of, if I could wrestle anybody, I'd wrestle Mickie James. In terms of girls on the indies, Britt Baker, Chelsea Green, Jordan Grace. There are some people that I'd really, really like to wrestle. So
what are some of your favorite Mickie James matches, you'd say?
To be honest with you, one of the reasons why I love Mickie James, it wasn't because of like her specific matches. So when I was a kid, I used to see her at Impact Wrestling all the time. I see her wrestle like Victoria, Brooke Tessmacher, and even the Beautiful People. And those, funny enough, are some of the favorite matches that stick into my head, because when I would see her live and in person, I was just like, as a fan, I just loved her so much. And then the older I got, and then seeing her, eventually make her return to WWE and stuff, I just thought she was phenomenal. I love her look. I love her presence. And those are the reasons why I want to wrestle her, to be honest, because in terms of, that's why I say like my biggest, she's kind of my biggest dream match for the sake of childhood memories and just loving her vibe and what she gives off.
That's like the most important part of it. Like been doing it, like you've been watching it, and then you saw it when your dad was watching it. So you got hooked at a young age. Like, what were your friends saying when you got so hooked into wrestling? Like, what were they thinking? What were they saying?
So, as a kid, I was always friends with a lot of guys. Funny enough, my parents used to have a minivan, and when we would go to shows, like, because I was so hooked, that we would always just load up the minivan with whoever had the money to buy a ticket and come with us, and my dad would take like 6 or 7 kids at a time to wrestling. And to be fair, for the most part, they all really liked it. When I got to high school, people were a bit more like, yeah, okay, whatever. But like some of my friends would come watch me because I was only in grade 9 when I started wrestling. So some of my friends would come to shows, but they obviously weren't quite as crazy about it. But when I was younger, people loved it. And really interestingly, a couple of my friends from school came to a show this past weekend, and they were like, you always used to say you were going to be a wrestler, and we all thought you were crazy, and now here you are, So
what do you say your pre-match ritual is? Like, what do you like to do before every single match? Like, what gets you ready?
To be honest, it will always depend on where I am, who I'm wrestling, but I like to think I'm quite calm before I wrestle. Lots of stretching, but I don't have anything, I don't think, like ritual really that I do, to be honest. Like nothing out of the ordinary. but just lots of stretching, lots of talking to my opponent. As I said, I'm very relaxed before I wrestle. I'm never like, I of course I get nervous, but I don't panic or anything. I'm very content, think through my matches. I just talk to myself a lot, to be honest. That's lots of self motivation and self hype. Sorry, excuse my words. Before I go out there,
it's always like the good part of it, because like you don't want to go out there too hyped because it would be out of your character. Because if your character's sleek and small like the Demon Linko, you don't want to go out there like Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like I'm heel quite frequently as well. So the child in me is always very happy to be there, and very excited. And then the heel in me is like, and hate these people.
You're like, no. It's like
exactly.
So
you go ahead, Joe.
Oh, sorry, Geek, you're next.
No, I already went.
So you said before you've been all over. Have you ever thought of like wrestling in like the States, like any like the states around by us and stuff like that?
So I have wrestled in I wrestled for Limitless once, and I wrestled in Vegas in California. And actually I was going to do a tour of America earlier this year, but the dates just didn't line up with my pre-booked schedule basically. But I am back in America in September, in Vegas and California in September, just for a couple kind of short dates and those things. But yeah, the plan eventually is to do America. I think it's a lot harder as a Canadian wrestler because getting into America is quite a bit more difficult. So it'll all be about how those things all work out, really.
The East Coast, where Geek and I live, in the New York, Pennsylvania area, white hot.
Yeah.
Victory Pro Wrestling, put that on your list. Victory Pro is in James, Long Island.
Yeah.
They have a very good women's division. It's like subtle because they have a lot of women coming in and out, like the open door. Yeah. But it's a good promotion to check out.
Good to know. We'll do.
That and Creative Pro is pretty good.
Yeah, Creative Pro.
And Outlaw. So
awesome. I'll definitely look them up.
Yeah.
So so you've been in the business a long time. So who would you say like gave you like the best advice growing up in the business?
One really funny piece of advice I'll always remember is when I was ring announcing. This is a ring announcing thing. Well, I guess getting in a ring in general. I remember Ricky Steamboat came up to me once and he was telling me about, as a woman, he's like, if you're ever wearing an outfit that's like a dress or a skirt, and he showed me how to hold the microphone properly and how to step through a rope to always protect myself, to make sure in case anyone had a camera or a weird angle, and you're wearing a skirt or a dress, you could protect yourself. And it's really random, but whenever someone asks me about like a piece of advice that like sticks in my head really big, that's the first one that always comes to my mind, because I always thought it was so random and hilarious. And when he saw I was a ring announcer, he's like, do you want a piece of advice? And that was it. But we always get the whole ears open, mouth shut, never stop learning, take every piece of advice and criticism you can take, and surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, and the people that you the people who are doing the things that you want to do, because that's how we get better.
I met Ricky Steamboat like I think it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago at a Ring of Honor show. He gave me like 2 autographs for the price of 1, and I'm like, I was like, can you sign my DVD, Ricky? And he's like, yeah, sure, but I'm gonna also give you an 8x10 also as well. And I'm like, dude, that's so awesome,
That's nice.
Yeah, Ricky Steamboat's the man. Shouts out to Ricky Steamboat.
There's another promotion that's in England. I don't know if you ever heard of Coventry Pro.
Yeah, I have done. I haven't worked for them, but I've heard of them.
Good people. Good people.
Outcast as well.
Outcast. Oh, that's another one. I don't know if you ever heard of Outcast.
Yeah, I have done. Again, I haven't worked with them, but I have heard of them.
You versus Kiara would be a good match, I think. Or Shorty, or like.
Or Luna Trick.
Oh yeah. Because in Outcast, there's only one female wrestler in the whole promotion.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she wrestles against a lot of the men. They toss her. You want a match? Here you go. Like you're in a triple threat match.
They usually bring people over like to fight Luna Tricks for the title. So
yeah,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Who out of all the wrestlers you've wrestled in your whole career, who would you say hits the hardest?
Who hits the hardest? Who hits the hardest? Well, if we're talking chops, me and another wrestler named Chris Hicks. I don't know if you've heard of him from the Maritimes of Canada. We used to chop each other to the point of like welts, like not just chop marks, but welts on our chests because we were so comfortable with each other that we'd be like, yeah, let's just go, let's do it. In terms of strikes, who's a good striker? There's another girl from WAW named Karama. I don't know if you've come across her yet in your WAW travels. You should definitely interview her. She is one of the most snug but safe strikers that I know, and I love wrestling her for that reason.
Okay.
Here's an oddball question. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? It's a hard question with me, to be honest. Well, when I'm in England, my favorite food is tuna pasta bake. When I'm in Canada, when I'm on the east coast of Canada, my favorite food is either donair or a clubhouse sandwich. But yeah, a bit random. But I mean, I just love pizza. But
you can hang with us. We love pizza.
But pizza's the easiest answer, so I try not to say pizza because everyone says pizza. But I'll eat pizza any day. But I try to be a little more creative than pizza.
Yeah, it's like you can go on, Geeko.
No, go ahead, Joe.
Like, there's a thing I always hear from Canadian wrestlers and Straight Talk. That's another podcast from Canada that are really cool. I always say whenever I go to Canada, I want to try that. It's like French fries, but they put the gravy on it.
Poutine.
Oh yes, I keep hearing about it. Keep hearing so many good things about poutine. That's the first thing I land in Canada and we go off to the hotel. I'm like, I have to find a place that sells poutine.
Yeah, and they all do, to be fair. My favorite is on the East Coast here. You can get donair poutine, so it's French fries, donair meat, and cheese curds, and it's great. It's top notch.
I mention this all the time, but it's like if we ever come to England, we gotta find this place called Nando's. Because everybody talks about every single wrestler's like
everyone.
Everyone says you don't know what Nando's is. I'm like, we've never been to England.
Yeah, no. Nando's is really, really popular. They actually have one in Ontario as well.
Oh wow. Okay.
And there was one in, I think it was California. Somewhere in America had one, but I'd never seen them like in my travels in America. But yeah, they're very popular in England because it's like just a chicken restaurant, to be fair. But it'd be like if everyone was like, "Oh, my favorite do you guys have Swiss chalet in America?" You don't, do you?
No.
It's just, I mean, and that's the thing. When my boyfriend Charlie and I first got together, like Nando's was his absolute favorite, and I was like, "It's chicken."
It's just a chicken place, but
to be fair, it's like nice chicken. Like it's not like fried chicken or anything. It's like chicken breasts or like really nicely rotisserie chicken with vegetables and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's boring.
It's like going to a fancy version of Popeyes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, give or take.
Popeyes with a fancier touch, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a fancy Zaxby's. I don't know if you guys have those in England or not. It's Zaxby's. Zaxby's is like a Chick-fil-A. Awesome like chicken place. Like their sauce is amazing.
Yeah, to be fair, I guess that's what Nando's has like 6 different sauces to choose from.
What?
But then I would take chicken wings any day over a chicken restaurant. And like that's one of my favorite parts of coming back home because chicken wings aren't really that popular in England. So chicken wings are one of my favorite foods as well. Actually, I forgot about chicken wings.
I'd be getting booed in the bar. I'm like, can I get a beer and some wings?
Yeah,
why are you booing me?
Yeah. So I always go with my dad's work friends out for chicken wings every time I'm home. So I'm like, I need them all.
We all can hang out if we ever came to Canada. We all could get wings and beer.
Yeah, wings, beer. That's what a lot of the wrestlers around here in my hometown go every second Thursday or third Thursday night, and they all go for wings and beer all the time. So, wrestler ritual.
Yeah, I guess that's the wrestler's delicacy. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
What,
Exactly.
what would you say that your match is the most proud of? The match that you're most proud of that you had? I said.
One of the matches that I was the most proud of was me versus Kobe Christ, and that happened in October 2017. I did get my concussion in that match, but that match was one of the matches where I was like, in terms of my skill and my talent, I'd really stepped up a lot in that period of time. Like I trained really hard for that match. And now that match has 7 million views on YouTube.
Wow.
So it's one of the ones that I'm very, very proud of.
That's
Another
amazing.
one that always sticks in my head that I'm really proud of is when I wrestled in Germany at the Schützenplatz Arena. Sorry for anyone who's listening. I always pronounce it wrong. I can't pronounce it like the British people do. But it's a legendary venue in Germany, basically. And Kat Siren and I won the women's tag titles there. And it was like, I think it was like over 1,000 people in attendance.
Wow.
And the match went perfect. And we were baby faces and we did a 2-night thing. So we lost the first night. And on the second night, we won the tag titles. And the building just erupted. It was insane. So that's another one that I always think that I was so proud of in that moment, to be in a legendary venue, you know, winning these belts in a different country in front of over 1,000 people. And yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's cool. Just to like that you lost the first night, but the second night you come home victorious. So like we'll touch on that match right now. So like, what was your energy like when you came back through the curtain after night one losing and night two you win the title? What was like? What were your feelings? What were you feeling?
To be honest, it was really good because the night before, even when we lost, we had obviously told such a good story that the reaction was there. You know, people were so mad at the girls we wrestled. You know, the crowd was like on fire. So the next night when we came out right off the hop, you know, it was cheering and booing the right people. The whole venue was noisy. And then when we won, like the building just erupted. And when I went backstage, we had like gotten a good job from all these vets. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, there's so many important people in this building right now. And we've just done this and it's so freaking cool. So I was just like, it felt really surreal. And it was just such a cool experience and it stuck with me ever since.
Awesome.
So what would you say your favorite music is?
Favorite music? Oh, I'm the worst person to ask that question to, because if you ask me to put my phone on shuffle, you know, you might get Kate Bush, you might get Eminem, you might get Taylor Swift, you might get Snoop Dogg. Don't know what you're gonna get, you know. It's like
the mixed bag.
Yeah.
Me and Geek. I grew up in CI in Long Island, and like I would listen to like my mom loves Tupac, so you would be here like Tupac playing in the living room. But when you open my door, you hear Seven Dust, and then it would turn into like Korn, and then it would turn into like like Metallica, and then it would turn into like Dr. Dre and stuff like that. So mixed
I pretty much love everything. The only music I don't particularly care for, I'd say, is like jazz music. I'm not really a jazz music fan. But I even like I pretty much like I even like country music. Like I like everything.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a bit of a boring answer, but I do just love everything.
Yeah. This interview started so fire right now that we almost forgot to ask the most important question. Who trained you, Maddison Miles?
Yeah.
So I was trained by Wildman Gary Williams. When I found out that I was training, I started to do a little bit of training with Dick Durning and Adam Kraft from St. John, New Brunswick. And then I did full-time training with Wildman Gary Williams. And then I had some really influential kind of training from a guy named Chris Hicks and Kobe Christ. And then kind of in terms of teaching me the ways of like being on the road and stuff, a lot of that comes from Brody Steele, as he was kind of the guy from around my area who actually got out, and as well as Mike Hughes. Brody Steele and Mike Hughes were the two guys that really from our area got out and did a lot. And so they were the people that I surrounded myself with because I wanted to know etiquette and all that good stuff.
Awesome.
So where could people find you exactly? Like what, like social media?
Yeah, so my Instagram is the most common place that I will interact with fans. My Instagram is Maddison, Maddison.Miles, Miles. My Twitter is the same handle. My Facebook and my Facebook page are Maddison Miles, professional wrestler. My YouTube channel is very interesting. I've got over 30,000 subscribers, and I have got history of maritime wrestling on there, as well as almost every single match that's been on film of mine from 2015 until now, as well as lots and lots of history of everybody else in maritime wrestling on there as well. And then if anybody is interested in merchandise, you can always check out Maddison Miles Big Cartel.
That is awesome. Yeah. We want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You've been awesome.
This has been a great interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Anything else, Joe? Or?
I was gonna say we can get the merch. Yeah, you wearing your shirt right now, so you can show it on camera.
Yeah. I am. The pillow. I am wearing my newest T-shirt.
Who designed that, by the way? That's awesome. That art.
So my partner's brother is a fashion designer, and he does the most amazing logos and designs. You can check him out on Instagram. His work is Digby Jackson UK. He's the one who designed all my new merchandise, and we're going for a very sort of She-Hulk retro space vibe. Brand new gear, brand new merchandise can all be found on Big Cartel.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people using that nowadays. That Big Cartel. It seems very popular.
Yeah, it's very easy to use, to be fair. So that's probably why.
Trying to get away from using the one that takes your money. What's it called?
You know, everybody knows which one. No names.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm just saying
the big one.
Let's end this on a high. I'm Joe Pizza the Third.
I'm the Metal Geek.
And I'm Maddison Miles.
And we will catch you in the next one.